What's up YouTube, it's JP Dunphy, your BMW genius here at BMW Fort Washington. So my recent video where I actually made a comparison between my Tesla Model 3 rear-wheel drive standard range plus and the new i4, a lot of people met with some scrutiny with that, so I was like, you know what, I do want to clear the record with that and just basically say that, look, I own the Tesla. This isn't some, like, you know, promoting BMW thing. These are the cars I have on hand. If I had other options, I'd also do those for myself as well. But because I work at BMW, I'm supposed to, you know, put them up against each other in such a way that it says, hey, here's BMW, here's what BMW offers. Now, the reason I'm making the change is exactly like I said. I have my reasons for making the change for me personally. Obviously, you as the consumer make changes based on what you care about in a car. You know, do you spend a lot of time on the road? The Tesla might be a better option for you because of its supercharger network. But based on all that, the one thing that I really wanted to test between the two, because it seemed like there's a discrepancy, is how it actually handles my day-to-day drive. So with that, I did a small video that I've kind of compiled together where I drove from work to home, overnight, stayed, and that overnight did not plug in, and then go back with preconditioning in the morning to work. So based on that, I decided to do a little test on those, one with my Tesla and one with the i4. So with that, let's get to that. So for those curious, right now I'm currently at my dealership in my Tesla. Newest update, go team, 90%, 183 miles. With that, I would also like to note that it is exactly 14 miles on my suspected drive. And those who are curious, my speed during this drive will be 65 miles per hour. Alrighty, we are now home. It says 80%, so that was 10% usage. It says 163 miles when I drove 14. And, yeah. Now comes the fun part of waiting for tomorrow and doing the same thing, going from here to there without plugging in and getting preconditioned for tomorrow's drive. Let's see what happens. All right, so next morning, 8:12 in the morning, 64 degrees outside, 161 miles left to go, about to go to work, 14 miles. Let's see what happens. Oh, and 79%. So yeah, let's do this. So just in case it was a question of consistency, I am currently driving a little bit less, but almost on the merging point. I'm gonna bump this brake up to about 65 miles per hour like I did yesterday on the whole drive home. Just because, again, I want this to be nice and consistent between both cars and the little test I'm doing for it. So with that, yerp, let's see how it goes. All right, so we have made it to the dealership, exactly the time we expected. 14 miles, 147 miles estimated for the end. Also, just because it's fun to look at, here's a little consumption chart that Tesla offers, as well as what it expected me to get versus what I got. So this is what it says I should have gotten over the course of the last few miles of driving, and that's what I got. So I'm actually driving more efficiently than it thinks I should get for this route. This is all good. What's not good is that it's still 72% and 147 miles. That's not good. All right then, now for similar tests of the i4. We got 93% left. Is getting ready to leave the dealership. 232 miles expected. Let's take this back to home, show we're doing the same route. All right then, so according to this one, it's actually close to 15 miles in the way this one's estimating it. I think my other one's only about 14.8 miles, so it just averages out to 14. But same one, I'm taking the highway all the way down, then the quick off-roads. And with that, let's get ready to hit the road. All right, so one major difference between yesterday's test and today's, it is raining out, so it is dropping my average speed here. I'm not exactly sure how that will factor into The efficiency of this, obviously lower speeds are a little more efficient for EVs. So that might skew this test. I might need to do it again at another time, but I'm still continue the same test for today, just to get a side-by-side comparison as close as I can, and try and get this speed up where I can to get it to be more apples to apples, because unfortunately this is kind of skewing it towards BMW at the moment. But yeah, that's about that. All right, catch you guys later. Side note to mention that was not mentioned before, I drive my Tesla basically in the equivalent of comfort mode. So I am driving the i4 also in comfort mode to again get this nice back-to-back feeling. So if I wanted to get more, I could technically go into Eco Pro, but I'm not going to do that for the sake of this test again. Average speed has definitely gone up a bit since starting this, so that's good. So interesting little situation. Apparently, because you get about 195 kilowatts of regen at highway speeds when you have full regen on, I actually have more range now than when I left, 244 miles. So yeah, that was an unexpected little twist. All right, so completely forgot to do the thing when I got home. Sorry about that, guys. 87% was the end of the trip. The mileage actually kind of re-corrected itself down to 225, which is much more believable considering where we started. But still better than I expected, considering it was, 232 when we started our trip. So, all in all, about what I expected. About 6%. Actually, I'm doing my math wrong in my head. No, 6%. No, I can't remember if I was at 92 or 93. I'll have to look back. Sorry, my brain's a little thing. I was eating food with my family. Anyway, neither here nor there. But so far, it's all looking good. Yeah, this is about on par with what I was expecting. Slightly worse in terms of battery usage, but strangely enough, still better than what I expected for expected mileage. So I guess we'll see tomorrow morning exactly what happens after preconditioning. So that'll be the next update. Okay, so unintentional kink in the plan. So last night, my wife needed to run to the store or something for our littlest son, and took the car to do so. Came back, and out of habit, plugged the car in. Now, granted, I only have it set to a 90% charge thing, but by the time I realized what she did, it was already charged to 90%, so that kind of ruined what I wanted to do, but don't worry, we're still going to work out, because I found that out about 11 o'clock last night, ended up unplugging it. So even though it's now up to 90%, again, when we came home yesterday, it was at 80%, or sorry, 87%, and we'll just, luckily the battery pack got cold, so we're still going to be able to precondition it without being plugged in, all that. So actually preconditioning right now as we're speaking, and I'll be able to go out and I'll just have to adjust it so it's not a perfect thing, which I deeply apologize for. If you're following this specifically for this exact one, which that's never fun. But anyway, yeah, let's get to it. Alrighty, so here we are in the morning. We got our 22 minute, 14 mile trip in. We got 60, well, even that out, 68 on both sides. 50 degrees outside in the morning. 222 miles estimated, and 89%. So again, as stated earlier, my wife accidentally plugged this in for about an hour and a half last night, which raised this up to 90%. Luckily I had the cap on it, so it didn't go past that, but it still kind of messed up what I was planning to do a little bit. So again, deepest apologies about that. But we can still get a good estimate on what it's like here with the natural preconditioning. So again, starting at 89%, 222 miles estimated as of right now. Let's see if that drops when we put it into, and actually I would do the whole thing in brake mode, so that way I'm doing the same way as the Tesla the entirety of the way here. All right, ready? Let's go. Alrighty then, so here we are on the highway itself, averaging speed of 71 miles per hour. And here's my favorite low spot. Boom, boom. Now, I know this isn't technically a direct comparison about the ride quality of one car versus another, but I do want to say this car is definitely a little more competent on the highway, just in how it takes the bumps and all of that. It's definitely more comfortable on the highway, which again is one of the few reasons why I'm going to be making, because I spent a decent amount of time on the highway getting to and from work. So, oops, sorry for creeping up the speed there. Didn't mean to do that. Let me drop that back down. But yeah, I'm basically attempting to keep this at the same speed I was doing yesterday, which this one's definitely a little faster, has more power. So it's a little harder to do that in the process here. But again, we're down to about a little more than a quarter of the way, down to 87%, and mileage is unchanged. So I'm sure that's part of the heating up process of this battery. But yeah, we'll see as we keep going forward. So yeah. Also, another fun side note about the ride difference. So while the Tesla tends to ride stiffer, its seats are definitely softer than this. Now this car is still being broken in, whereas I have 35,000 miles on my Tesla, so there's a difference there. But the suspension on the BMW is definitely more compliant over rough sections of the highway, whereas the seat is a little more bolstered. So the seats, it's basically you either have a stiff suspension and soft seat, or a slightly stiffer seat and softer suspension. So interesting little tidbit there. Also, I don't know if I can't zoom in while I'm holding this at the same time, but there's a nice little thing in the head-up display that actually shows me which lane I am in and which lane it thinks I should be in for these little sessions. I'll try and get a better shot of that in a different video, but yeah, side little note. Alright, so interesting thing is happening here. Sorry, let me try and block this so you can see it. Battery is going down, but distance is actually going up. I'm up to 226 again. It did this yesterday too, when I was on my way home. Now, again, I'm trying to figure out whether or not this, I know, I'm leaving lane on purpose, dude. I'm trying to figure out whether or not it's doing this because of the battery temperature or what. I actually do have the ability to see what the battery temperature is over here, which I should have thought about that metric. Although I can't measure that metric in the Tesla, so I feel like that's not as useful in this, just because there is no direct link that I can draw between the two. But again, that's where I'm sitting right now. So we're about 3 miles away from work, and let's see what happens in the time. I did want to show this little guy right here, so you can see that the middle lane that I'm in is highlighted, although it's going to give me 2 extra lanes coming up. And look at that little guy, yes! See how I was moving over, that little thing? That's really cool. I like that a lot. I like that a whole lot. It's super simple, I love that. And of course this nice little thing right here telling me where to go. Alright then, I'm not at work. I really don't know what's going on with this mileage thing. It's weird. It's telling me 240 miles now, 84% battery left. It's 55 degrees out, and the heat's still on. I mean, if I pop into eco mode. I wonder. What? BMW, you crazy. You crazy. Okay, so final thoughts. Come to the end of this little experiment. It wasn't perfect, which I'm slightly annoyed at, but, you know, neither here nor there. The same basic takeaway is Tesla in comparison. So I'm going to do a little bit of math in a minute and kind of run all that out so you can actually see exactly how much percentage of the total battery was used for the trip for one versus the trip for the other. And sorry, I have an itch. But I'm coming to, at the end of this one, 84% was where this one was at. It just turned over as I was pulling in. So, I mean, in theory, I could say 85, but I won't say exactly what's on the thing. So 84%. And it's It's still saying 240 miles. I can't figure out what's going on with the mileage estimates here. I can't tell if it's because of all the driving that other people have been doing in this car and the fact that I'm not beating the hell of it, I'm just using it as a daily driver, if it's trying to somehow factor in that and be like, well, I guess if you're not beating the hell out of me, I'm going to be doing this kind of driving. This is the mileage you should be getting. So I can't tell if it's that's doing, but like yesterday when I got home and I had more mileage than when I left with and turned off, it's doing the same thing here. So I'm a little confused as to exactly what's happening with the mileage on this one. But what I'll end up doing is still, again, I'll go over the actual usage of percentage-wise, since that's not factored into the whole, estimated mileage. And then, of course, I'll do the same thing I'm doing with the Tesla, so I can kind of give you a back-to-back one of those together. But, yeah, this interesting. It's an interesting comparison. I think that they're actually going to be closer than expected, but where the, in terms of usage of the battery for the same distance. So over the course of this, it's basically 28 miles with a overnight sit and preconditioning without being plugged in for both. And even though the BMW was plugged in briefly last night because of my wife, that's not going to factor into this. Just because it wasn't plugged in within 6 hours of being preconditioned, so that's not going to affect the preconditioning version of it. It does affect the total battery thing, which annoys me, but still a relevant, comparison. Ideally, it would have been completely drive it there, sit still, overnight, preconditioned, not plugged in, and then drive back to work, so it's a more direct comparison between the two. But I'll take what I can get. I don't get this car that often, so yeah. And that's where I'll come out with this nice little chunk. All right then. So coming down to the final conclusion here, basically what happened was we had yesterday's situation where we basically went from 90% with 183 miles expected range down to 72% coming back the next day. For a total of 28 miles, using 18% of the battery and a good chunk of mileage. So yeah, I mean, not 40 miles altogether, but, just shy. But 36 miles is a good chunk compared to what was actually driven. It came to a total use of 9.18 kilowatts. And if you didn't know, the Tesla Model 3 that I drive has a drag coefficient of 0.23, is rear-wheel drive, and is 3,552 pounds. That's not without my stuff in it. It's probably closer to about, 36 with my stuff in it, and not including me. Anywho, BMW, because of that little snafu in the middle of the night last night, went from 93 down to 87 for a 6% change, and mileage actually went up, which was still trying to figure that out exactly. I think it has to be something to do with how I drive versus how the car's normally test-driven, where it factors in, my driving style versus the test drive style. I almost can guarantee that is. And then the next morning where I went from 89% to 84% for a 5% change, total of 11% change all in all. But massive change from 232 miles to 240 miles. By the way, because I do drive significantly more conservatively than most people, I have it plugged in going to 100% now, and it's actually showing a 286 miles of expected range based on my driving, which is more than a 270 expected for this. So, BMW might actually be underestimating their range here. Anyway, going back to the numbers, that basically evened out to about 8.81 kilowatts, which is very, very close to the Tesla in terms of actual usage. But something that is especially interesting about it is the fact that the BMW has a 0.24, again, very close, but a slightly worse drag coefficient, is all-wheel drive instead of rear-wheel drive, so that loses it, and then is nearly 1,500 pounds heavier. Now, if you did get the eDrive 40, that's 4,668 pounds as a curb weight, which is still, 1,100 pounds more than than the Tesla, but would otherwise be a more direct comparison, rear-wheel drive to rear-wheel drive and all that. But that's the ending numbers here. So it seems, at least by the basic numbers here, again, this was not a perfect test, there was a small snafu during this one in the process of it, but doing some quick math on it, as you can see my really crappy and badly done math there, fix that because I did that wrong. Anyway, but it basically came down to, for whatever reason, BMW's mileage is going up during usage, probably based on driving style versus being destroyed during, daily drive. And I believe the Tesla might be losing some of it just because the age of the battery, and the previous owner was a heavy supercharger user, so it probably has destroyed the battery usage all in all. So this may be different than yours. Obviously, this is based on my Tesla versus our demo i4, but this is the basic numbers drawn out for this. Might be helpful for people to know. The BMW, at least in its current state, versus my Tesla at 35,000 miles, used 2019. In its current state, again, your options may vary. Your results may vary, but this is what I'm seeing in my drive, and hopefully this might help for those who are curious about the previous videos. With that, thanks for checking out this video. I know it may not be as interesting to other people as it might to others, but if you're looking at the kind of raw data and a real-world comparison in terms of my particular daily drive, it's a 28 mile. Again, if you haven't seen anything beforehand, 28 miles round trip. The point was to basically drive the car home, don't plug it in, without being plugged in, precondition the next morning, and then drive it back and see how it does in terms of battery usage and projected mileage. Again, still confused as to why BMW actually ended with more mileage than when I left yesterday. So I'm not entirely sure exactly what's happening there, but either way, kind of fun. Curious to see how that works, because in its small time of even being plugged in here, it's showing almost 290 miles of range for a full battery, which is almost 20 miles more than what BMW says it should get. So again, I'm not sure if that's based on the way I drive. I do try and drive as efficiently as possible. I don't hammer on my cars. I just drive it like a normal car. And again, tried to emulate that in this little comparison / test that I just ran. Is it perfect? No, I'm not a scientist. I can't, make the weather work perfectly to give the exact same temperatures and conditions and all that between the days. So there obviously are those variants and variables to play into effect. But that's it for anyone who is interested. If you found this helpful, obviously like, comment, share, subscribe. I can do more of these going into the future. And if you're curious to see other cars, if anyone out there is in the Fort Washington area and would like me to do a comparison, or you'd like to even join in on a comparison between the i4 and, say, another cars, I am 1,000% for that. Bring your car in. Let's go through it. If you have a Model 3 performance or a Model Y performance, I think that'd be a better comparison than my Standard Range Plus 2019. So, please let me know. If you can bring those in, let's bring those in. Let's make these videos a little more interesting. Bring in local people for it. With that, again, if you found this helpful, like, comment, share, subscribe, and let me know what else you guys might want to see. With that, have a great day. Thanks for being with us.